Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Way. Celtic 3, Rangers 1. Celtic are through to the Premier Sports Cup final after extra time. Yep, you can probably tell from the smiles on our faces. It was a goal from Johnny Kenny from a header after Celtic thought that they took the lead through a Nico Raskin own goal, but that was chopped off due to an earlier infringement from Daizen Maeda. Was judged to be offside in the build-up. Rangers then got back level with a penalty late on in the second half through James Tavernier after Tony Ralston was judged to have handballed it in the area. I think it probably was a handball. But then after extra time, Celtic with a double had Callum Osmond with the third goal. Callum McGregor, Captain McGregor, Captain Fantastic, Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call him, got the all important winner on the day. My name's Ryan McGinley. Tonight I'm delighted to be joined by Tony. Tony, how you doing?
Yeah, that's the Martin O'Neill effect for you, isn't it, Ryan? I think Celtic were worthy of that, deserved winners, but I think what will have annoyed the manager is they didn't put Rangers to bed early when they went down to 10 men. Tello Ashgard's tackle on Anthony Ralston. Stud marks were there on the thigh. You could see it, TV picture showed there was rips in the shots as well. So I think Nick Walsh called that right. Don't know what else he called right, to be honest, after that. I think he was pretty poor for both sides, if I'm being brutally honest. So, but yeah, Martin O'Neill's team march on into the final, and we shall see. An interesting stat that someone said to Martin O'Neill was Celtic could well have a new manager for the quarter final, the semi final, and the final, Ryan, which might be the first time in history that's ever happened. But listen, Celtic got the job done, got the result, and I think everybody's happy about that.
Absolutely. Before we continue with the show, and this is the reason why I've got the laptop in my hand, I can't wait to put this down in a little minute or so. This video and all of our videos are sponsored by It's Simply Furniture, and we really appreciate the sponsorship that they give us. They're located in Hillington, Glasgow. It's Simply Furniture are an independent brand dedicated to bringing luxury and contemporary style into homes across the UK. With over a decade of experience in furniture retail, they meticulously source only the finest pieces, curated for quality, comfort and timeless design. From elegant sofas to statement dining sets, their hand-picked collections offer exceptional value without ever compromising on style. Their dedicated team ensures their furniture is delivered with care right to your doorstep. If you want to see the beauty up close, visit their showroom in Hillington. And if you mention the Celtic Way, then you will get a special discount. All you need to do is mention the Celtic Way. And we thank them for sponsoring us, and all of their links are in the description below. Now that I've done that, I can put my laptop down.
And like the true professional that you are, Ryan.
Thank you very much. Celtic 3, Rangers 1. For large spells of that, Tony, Celtic were the better team, but they kept on allowing, or one time they allowed Rangers back into it, but even when they went 2-1 up, there were still opportunities for Danny Rowe's side, but ultimately Martin O'Neill's side came up trumps today.
Yeah, they made heavy weather of it, didn't they, Ryan? 38 minutes, Rangers are down to 10 men. Celtic were very profligate at times in terms of their chance and opportunity creation, missing them. And also, Rangers missed a couple of chances as well. Kasper Schmeichels came up with a couple of big saves as well. So I think Martin O'Neill will still be delighted with the result. Semi-finals are all about getting through to the final. There will be things for him to chew on and gnaw over, particularly the passing out of chances and the failure to kill off Rangers in normal time. Because Rangers got a second wind after they scored. They had a good period of 15-20 minutes in the second half. And then after they scored, they get a second wind and actually looked like they might stun Celtic by coming back with 10 men to win it. But Celtic gradually got control again, wore them down in extra time, and were, as I say, were well worthy winners.
Yeah, it was really a day where a lot of the storylines were up front for both sides. Yeah. You've got to say, Johnny Kenny, who started again today, he started the past 3 games for Celtic in all competitions. That's him scored in back-to-back games. Now he got a double. He got a double against Falkirk. Thank you very much. And then he scored the opener against Rangers. And then of course, Callum Osmond scored his first ever goal in senior football. An amazing moment for him. And my goodness, he lapped it up. I'm seeing some of the comments that are coming out from his press conference or after the game when he was speaking to the media. He was saying it was the best day of his life, Tony. Yeah. Not in terms of his career, at least. It's going to take some beating for the young man.
Listen, I think to a man, woman and child today, every Celtic supporter is delighted for both Johnny Kenny and Callum Osmond two young guys in a game of that importance and magnitude, Ryan, and the manager said to them, Johnny Kenny, you're starting. Callum Osman, go on and make an impact. And the two of them come up with hugely important goals for themselves, but for their own career. And if Callum Osman is saying it's the best day of his life, then who you argue with that? That's his only second ever game of first team football, and he scored against Rangers at Hampden, and he made it look easy, but it's not easy. It's a brilliant ball across from Kieran Tierney, but it's a wonderful striker's goal. And Johnny Kenny's header, my goodness, that's my ball all day long. I'm getting in there and I'm bulleting that home, and Jack Butland's in some terrific form at the minute, Ryan. Didn't have a chance with any of them. You might have done better with Callum McGregor, but that's a bit of a howitzer, and you say to yourself, just maybe taken by surprise at that. But you turned to me at the time and you said, thought the goalkeeper could have did better with that. But
It was very, very central, is what I would say.
Delighted for the two youngsters though, and it augurs well, Ryan. That's them come in and did the job that the manager asked, and that's all Celtic supporters want to see. Trust Johnny Kenny to lead the line after his double against Falkirk, yellow jersey as I always say, and then say to Callum Osman, go and have a bit of glory. Go and do what Johnny Kenny did, and he did.
And that's maybe the disappointing thing for Callum Osmond, is that he's not available for Celtic for Thursday night's game against Midfield, because he's not in the European squad. That is how quick this turnaround has been for the young man from Jersey, who's eligible to play for Wales as well. He's been here, there, and everywhere. But he's certainly he's on the lips of all the Celtic supporters tonight. But that shows you how quick this turnaround has been for him. Brendan Rodgers left the club on Monday. He wasn't even quoted for the Hearts game. Monday, Brendan Rodgers leaves the club. Tuesday, Martin O'Neill comes in. Wednesday, he's named on the bench and makes his debut. Then on Sunday, he scores at the National Stadium. It's been a bit of a Carlsberg week for Callum Osmond, hasn't it?
Football sliding doors moments. Absolutely. How many times do we talk about that? And do you know what? I hope these two guys can go and kick on. I hope there is a wee bit of faith shown in them. Certainly over Martin O'Neill's interim period and Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham's interim period, they'll get their opportunity, right. Can't play in the Europa League obviously because of the squad, but I hope that whoever does come in, Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, Mark Fotheringham, will say to them, listen, worth persevering with these two guys. They've got something to offer you moving forward. And I think if anybody needed convincing today that Johnny Kenny and Callum Osmond won't score goals for Celtic, then all that negativity has been shaken out from you today, because I watched Johnny Kenny lead that line today, and especially in the first half, his layoffs were brilliant. His link-up play was excellent, Ryan. For the time he was on the park, he was terrific. He terrorised Rangers' defence today. And then Callum Osmond came on and just thought, I'm going to do what he did. And he was excellent as well. He had a real out ball. He was clever. He was fast. The only gripe would be the one that he had 85 minutes where he's running through and he hits it weakly into Buckland, and you're thinking, oh no. So he's probably determined to make up for that. And boy, did he do that.
He could have scored 4 today. And do you know, in my ratings I had to change it, saying that he didn't have his shooting boots on, and I'm so glad that I could erase that from the reality because he did eventually, and it was a great finish, great ball in from the sub Tierney, starting to show a wee bit of squad depth in that left back area as well, which is really good to see.
Do you know what it reminded me of? Osman's goal, Kyogo's goal.
Yes.
When you slide in.
I believe that was Hatate put the ball in.
Yeah, it was very similar to that. Mm-hmm. It's that movement that gets you away from the defence. Tap in. But it doesn't happen if you don't make the movement, if you're not anticipating what Kieran Tierney's going to do, drive it right across. Mm-hmm. And all good strikers have to be in there. And that's what I liked about Osman today. Osman decided today, I'm going to play like a striker, because I've just watched a young guy like myself, show me how to play like a striker.
And I think he smelled blood. I think when he came on, I was like, this guy wants to show something. He wants to show that he should be involved in the squads. He shouldn't. There was a lot of talk that he rejected a loan move. Well, look, it's paid off for him. He has the way that, and to be fair, and I will be completely fair, on the morning briefing where I did hear about that news, I was like, well, why didn't he? Because he's never played a senior game, but he's played 2 senior games. He's now got his first senior goal for Celtic, and he'll be feeling on top of the world. As he said in his interview, it's the best day of his life. Best day of his life so far. I want to see more from him.
So he should be on top of the world, Ryan. We spoke about the game today, and I said it throws up unlikely heroes. 2 heroes today are Johnny Kenny and Callum Osmond, and your likely hero's Callum McGregor, right? So, but you expect that. I mean, it seems a bit kind of churlish to say, but that's the kind of thing you expect from Callum McGregor. Not for a minute did you think Johnny Kenny and Callum Osmond would step up to the plate the way they did today. That, to me, was a mature performance from two young guys who were given the confidence and shot in the arm by a manager that said, I believe in you. Go out there and do it. Do it for yourself. Not, do it for yourself more than anything. But if I believe in you and I think you've got something, go out there and prove why I've put you in this team.
And it's a great starting point for him. He's still got so much to go in his young career, but 19 years old. There was even a moment where I think a lot of the Celtic support were allowing that tackle. There was a tackle that he made that he just completely took his man out. But he then gestured to the fans and he was there. And again today, and we will talk about Austin Trusty's incident because it is going to dominate a lot of the headlines. For me, personally, I think it's a yellow card. I think he's lucky, but at the same time, I think it's a yellow card for me. But what I would say just before we get on talking about Austin Trusty, because his individual performance was so good as well, man of the match in the stadium. Celtic had that controlled aggression today, at least in the first half, maybe less so in the second half, and it kind of died off a bit. And we were wondering if Lightning was going to strike twice at Hampden, the same as the Aberdeen game where Celtic coasted and then they allowed the other team to get back in the game. But certainly for the first half, there was that controlled aggression. You had Engels, you had Benjamin Negrin, Callum McGregor, Austin Trusty, Liam Scales, Marcel Sirachi after a difficult start. There was that controlled aggression, and that's been in the two games that we've seen so far from Martin O'Neill. It seems to have been injected into the team, which is great to see.
Yeah, you look at the controlled aggression right from the Celtic players, and then you look at Taylor Ashgard's challenge, right?
There was no control there. There was just complete aggression.
So there's complete aggression. That's a loss of discipline and a loss of shape. Not many Celtic players did that today. They get stuck in, they get wired in, but I never seen any kind of rash, wild lunges like that. Now, you're going to come on to Austin Trusty. You say it was a yellow card. I think he's run the risk there.
I said he was lucky.
And he is lucky because the boot on Jack Butland's head is not a boot. It's a kind of flick, Beckham style flick in terms of contact. And I think he's been given the benefit of the doubt by Nick Walsh, but he's a very, very lucky boy because he has caught him in the head. And is the ball there to be won? I think Butland's got it under control. And
there is a delay, isn't there, before?
After the goalie's got it under his arm. So had he walked, he would have walked for gross stupidity, Ryan, basically. And it would have marred what turned out to be a man of the match performance. So I think you take the learnings from that and you say, big man, I know you think that ball was there to be won, but it wasn't. And there's a difference between controlled aggression and being reckless and stupid, like Taylor Ashgard was, and he gets sent off. So had Celtic been reduced to 10 men, I wouldn't have any complaints about it, Ryan. Had Austin Trusty walked, I have to say. And again, that's when I go back to both sets of supporters thought the referee was poor today. So Rangers will point to that was a sending off. They possibly, in my opinion, have a case.
Yeah, but it's better to talk about these things when Celtic have won, of course, because Celtic fans and Celtic supporters will call out the referee and they'll do it after a win anyway, because if you do it after a loss, you get accused of sour grapes, and that's understandable. And Rangers fans will be accused of that, and Danny Rowell and the players will be accused of sour grapes. Well, your team didn't win, so that's you complaining about the referee. It was one of those flashpoints in the game, and it would have been not a more interesting game, but it would have made for a more interesting second half with the dynamic of 10v10 rather than 10v11. That being said, though, Celtic didn't use the man advantage to their advantage. In fact, they allowed the 10 men of Rangers, who I've got to say under Danny Rowell, they rallied and they showed a togetherness in the team, and they got back in the game. Sure. Definite penalty for the Tavernier goal.
Lots of people said it was harsh. I don't know. I'm thinking it's a penalty, I have to say. I didn't like it at the time, but I've watched it again and I think, And also as well, Danny Rowell was asked, because Ralston had been booked at that point, hadn't he? Mm-hmm. So a handball, second booking, should Ralston have walked too? And he was saying, well, what isn't that the rules? So that's another gripe that Rangers had. Celtic probably got a lucky break there as well. And so, had he sent him off again, I don't think I would have questioned that, Ryan. I've got to be honest, and I'm not saying that because Celtic have won. You have to look at these things and say, see if that's against your team. You are saying what the Rangers supporters are saying. You know, you are asking. You kicked him in the head. You know, whatever player, ex-player kicked the goalkeeper in the head, and that player's already been booked, and that struck his arm, and you've awarded the penalty. So, you know, second booking type stuff. Harsh as it may seem, right? So I think Celtic have got away with 2 today, marginals, but they've got on the right side of them, and it would have had a huge impact on the game, or bearing on the game.
It would have. You're right. Now that we've talked about the flashpoints, we need to talk about individual performances. we just spoke about him, but I'm going to speak about his defensive qualities and his partner in Liam Scales, who's been Celtic's best player this season. As well as Negrin for the goals that he scored, but I think the most popular choice at the moment would be Liam Scales. How good were those two today? The two were absolutely mammoth at the back for Celtic.
You said to me when the teams lined up, there's height in that Rangers team, and you kind of recoiled because I don't think you realised how big that Rangers team were.
Yeah, especially guys like Chermiti and Asgard. I know Chermiti's a target man. He didn't really show it today as a target man, to be honest with you, but fellow Asgard, he's deceptively tall. When you see him, when you see the interviews, and then when you see him in person, you realise he's a lot taller. But they have height in their team. Even the fact that Raskin's one of their smallest players, but he's good in the air. So they've got players that are usually quite good in aerial duels. But Trusty and Scale, did they lose a header today?
But that's the thing. See, for me, Ryan, they did it in Bergamo against Atalanta. See, when these guys have a remit and a job, stop the supply, win the headers, the two of them are excellent, right? Because they sort of knuckle down and they say, right, we can't afford to lose headers here, and their mind's on the job. It's when they start the kind of, as I say, the Bobo Baldi-esque, start strolling 30, 40 yards with a football at their feet, and you know, you're just thinking, no. But see, when you've got an actual job and a focus, watch the big guys. Which one? They're all big guys, exactly, right? Just pick them up, win your headers, and when we talk about the world-class defensive basics, when the ball's in the air, go and win it, and when it's on the deck, you know, Rose Ed does for me. In a game like today, I'm just no messing about. But the two of them were excellent, and you know, there is an argument that those two could form a solid defensive partnership, Ryan, but trust's the issue just now, if you excuse the pun. Trust the issue with both of them, because you sometimes think there's a rickets in both of them, you know, but not lately.
No. It just baffles me, to be honest. And I'm going to bring my own personal opinion into it. Well, while I do that, can you just move in just ever so slightly? Just I'm noticing the camera. It's very difficult to do these. Very new to this sort of thing, and doing this live as a pre-recording as well. So bear with us. For Trusty, I just find the situation so baffling, to be honest, especially now. Brendan Rodgers put Dane Murray in that situation at Tynecastle, where when he had Austin Trusty and Liam Scales available, who both played in Bergamo, and it was a backs to the wall performance for large parts, and they defended admirably for the 90 minutes that they played. Now, it hasn't taken long for Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, Mark Fotheringham, etc. to come in and say, look, Austin, you're in the team now, this is your time. And by all accounts, he seems a very popular guy, good off the pitch. He was very good on the pitch today, apart from that one yellow card that he picked up. People will say, was it a red? Listen, it was a yellow. It was given on the park. But yeah, a tremendous performance from the two of them. I was kind of basing this point on Trusty, but I think it would be unfair to mention just Trusty when it takes two to tango in a dance partnership of centre backs. And they both performed admirably today.
See, the frustrating thing for me, Ryan, I know there's a footballer deep down inside Austin Trusty. There's a central defender there. There's a centre half of repute there. You know, he talks a wonderful game. There's Austin Trusty. And it led me to say before that he's maybe not as good a player as Austin Trusty thinks he is. But you're starting to see that Austin Trusty coming out where he is backing it up. He's talking the talk, but he is walking the walk, and he walked the walk today. Could have made the walk of shame.
The long walk.
Yeah, the long walk. You know, but thankfully didn't. And he's been awarded the man of the match. So, for a guy like Austin Trusty, he's got a goal at the end of it. Well, he wants to be in that American men's American national team squad that's playing in the World Cup, right?
Unfortunately, down to his teammate, down to his Celtic teammate, there is another opportunity for him to get back into that
Correct.
team. Sliding doors, as you talk about.
Correct. So you use that, don't you? And you say to yourself, I'm knuckling down. If I impress the interim coaches, great. Then they'll have positive things to say about me when a new man comes in, and you say, right, so he's got this chance. He's got the bat on him, so he has to run with it, Ryan. And he is running with it. He's played very, very well. I allowed the opposition in terms of Falkirk the other night when he just seamlessly, back into the side. Brilliant. Played really well. But today he showed me something a bit more. Today was more Bergamo-like. When he did decide, I'm going to win my headers, I'm going to sweep up, I'm going to clear, I'm going to protect my partner, we're going to work in tandem together. I hate that phrase, dovetail, right? But you can't help but escape it today because the two of them were excellent, right? I mean, that's it. That's for me the bedrock of Celtic's success today.
Yeah, absolutely. Going into the midfield, now, to be fair, I thought Srirachi had a poor start to the game, but he came into it as the game wore on. Ralston had a really good day today, I would say. There was a tackle early doors that really just set the tone for the game.
Thundering, I think you'll call it,
yes,
Ryan.
yes, absolutely, but fair. Thundering, but fair, and that's the difference. It was a fair challenge from Tony Ralston. We actually spoke to him after the game. Very measured, very mature individual.
That channeled aggression you're talking about, going into a challenge like that, because you get that wrong, you're off the park.
Yep.
And it set the tone, didn't it?
Yep. Those two were brilliant, and so was Kieran Tierney when he came on the park. He played a really, really key role, especially with that third goal. The goal for Callum Osmond. Just on the midfield, probably one of Benjamin Negrin's best games for Celtic in the first half. 45, 50, 55 minutes, and then he fell away from it. Arne Engels played the full 120 minutes, and
From Engels, isn't it? And it's more like
we're hard on him, but
we are hard on him. But I thought today was excellent, and I thought that the 70 minutes that he was on the pitch, thought he was really good too. I agree with you. I think it was his best performance, Ryan, because the amount of times he drifted into space, his spatial awareness was excellent today, and he created a lot of things for Celtic. And that
he's a very intelligent footballer, isn't he?
Yeah, and he wanders undetected. See, the frustrating thing about him is he does that, and then he'll get the ball stuck in his feet, or he'll get dispossessed, and it's just it's the sum of those parts. I want the whole, as I keep mentioning on, but I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, again, like Trusty, there's a real technical, clever footballer there, and you're going to use this to your advantage the more and more you play and the more you experience these games. He didn't hide again today, Ryan. Wanted the ball at all time, even when he stood in it, and his control let him down, and that's fine. I can live with that, Ryan, as long as you don't go missing.
That's one thing that you can't say. This is Negrin that we're talking about. Yeah, Negrin doesn't hide.
Yeah.
He's very much front facing.
Yeah.
You see what he's doing, good or bad. But my goodness, he doesn't hide, and he ran himself into the ground. That's probably the reason why they took him off, because of the hard yards that he put in.
And Engels, see, when you put a ball in like that and you say to Kenny, go and attack that, it's no surprise that it ends up in the back of the net. You give someone a ball, a corner delivery like that they can contest.
He's been doing that a bit more recently, Sturm Graz and then Rangers. It's a good habit that he's getting into, and the midfield dynamics changing.
Today I thought Engels was very good.
Me too.
Very good. And
intelligent.
Yeah, and stood up. Even when Rangers came into that, he had his Rangers had their 15-20 minutes, he wasn't in it so much, but then got a second wind and started to come at them again. And I felt once that happened that Celtic were going to win the football match. We looked at each other in extra time and said, we could probably go on and win this by a couple now, because that was our thoughts. We should have already, and there was supporters right behind us, wasn't there? And some guy said they should have had it one by now, and I said, well, there's the team talk. It's Sir Alf Ramsey in 1966 when England won the World Cup. You won it once, you need to go and win it again. And I think that's basically what Martin O'Neill said to the players. You had this game won. You said that they were a bit lax. Concentration levels dropped, and they paid a heavy price for that against Aberdeen. Made sure it doesn't happen again. And 2 minutes into extra time, they've more or less got the winning goal, because Rangers weren't coming back from that.
And that was such a big blow for Rangers that they conceded that goal so soon
Yeah.
after after extra time had started. You and I noticed what happened at full time. Celtic players were still on their feet. They wanted extra time. Well, not that they wanted extra time. That's the wrong way to say it. But they were determined to right that wrong that had taken place. The fact that it even went to extra time, 11v10. I saw a number of Rangers players fall to their feet as if their race is run. We mentioned it with a couple of people around us. Celtic, despite not getting that late goal, and they had chances. Hatate had a late chance. Callum Osmond had a late chance. They were going to right that wrong as soon as possible, and they did that.
I think they were angry about those 2 chances, Ryan, because they
Controlled aggression.
Yeah, they wanted to put Rangers away in 90 minutes. Yeah, but they had to take that anger out in the right possible manner. In the 92nd minute, that goes in from McGregor. That's it. Any hope that you had of a Rangers 10-man comeback or holding on grimly for penalties is gone. So you're sitting there thinking, okay, Celtic go and tighten the screw and win this by, they could have won it by 3 or 4-1.
They were lining up towards the second half of extra time. There was so many chances, and thankfully the scoreline did look more appealing than what it was before with the 3-1.
I think that the scoreline was an accurate reflection of the chances that were created, but granted, if Rangers had scored 2, then Celtic could have scored 4 or 5, should have. But, a 2-goal margin for me was about the least that Celtic should have won that game by. But I think it's a fair reflection in terms of the 3-1 scoreline. And, just delighted that they did control that anger, because it's easy to lose your way, isn't it? And Rangers didn't get the chance to retreat into any kind of shell and just say, right, we have to play for penalties because the 10 men have been stretched all over the joint. And that's what Celtic did. They stretched them all over Hampden, and at the end up, they were fairly comfortable.
They were. Do you want to give any shout out to any of the subs that came on? I thought in particular Rio Hatate had a really solid contribution when he came off, but when he came onto the pitch rather. Kieran Tierney with the assist to the 3rd goal for Callum Osmond. There was other players that came onto the pitch. Balikwisha came on as well. Yeah, those guys that were maybe disappointed not to start the game, they had the desired effect and the impact in the game.
Yeah, but they made a valid contribution when they came on, and I think it's the last thing that Rangers wanted to see, guys coming and directly running at them. Kieran Tierney was just like, right, bombing down that left channel, great ball in, as you say, for Callum Osmond's goal. Callum Osmond, every opportunity, took the chance for the out ball. I'll stretch you. Balikwisha started to do it when he came on. And Rio Hatate, nobody will need to tell Rio Hatate, will be really annoyed at that one. I said that was a harder chance, but you were pretty hard on, and you were like, that should be buried.
I think he's got previous. I think he's got previous in that area, and I think he lets himself down in those areas a lot of the time because we watched Hatate come to Celtic in 2022. The goals that he was scoring from outside the box, I think he flatters to deceive in a lot of his goals, or the lack of goals in his game, because he picks up good areas, and that's maybe the reason why Benjamin Nygren is starting ahead of him. Arne Engels is starting ahead of him. Arne Engels himself was unlucky with a chance that just went past the post. Could have been a really good outfield goal. We're still waiting on that outfield goal, that howitzer from Arne Engels, but there was a howitzer from the Celtic captain, and to come full circle, Callum McGregor just out there, just over there, was in tears after losing the treble to Aberdeen. For him to score what would be the winner on the day. Now, I know Callum Osmond's goal is important. Callum McGregor's goal is the winner. And a lot has been said about Callum McGregor this season, rightly or wrongly. Everybody has their opinion on the Celtic skipper at the moment. But that's definitely a top 10 Callum McGregor moment, isn't it?
The manager said he knew before he came into the club that Callum McGregor was a good footballer. He didn't realise how much of a good footballer he was and how much of a great leader he is in that dressing. Big voice, big presence. But that's what you need your captain to do. You don't shoot, you don't score. And I think a lot of Celtic stuff, I'm not saying they tried to walk it in the net today, but they were trying to get into positions where they couldn't miss.
Reverting a wee bit to type in that regard, I think they're still trying to shake off a lot of what the previous manager was asking, but they're kind of caught in this purgatory almost.
But he took it brilliantly. He strolled forward and he thought, I'm having this. And, he had it, how it's a stunning goal. Jack Butland might think he can do better, but the minute that hits the net, it's game over for me, because I didn't think Rangers had it in them to come back again, and so that gives you that breathing space. And as you say, he was in tears, in May, first cup final he'd ever lost at Hampden,
That in itself is an amazing statistic.
That statement alone tells you everything you need to know about Callum McGregor. And when the manager or the interim manager, Martin Neal, saying, this boy can play football, he's a very good footballer, then you sort of say, yeah.
I trust Martin O'Neill's judgment, to be honest, and I think a lot of younger generations of Celtic supporters are now trusting Martin O'Neill's judgment. Not that they were ever doubting it in the first place. They'll obviously heard things from their parents, their relatives, even other fellow Celtic supporters about how good Martin O'Neill was. I can only, as I've said a couple of times on the podcast over the past week or so, I can only remember a couple of times him managing. I remember Seville, I remember my dad being in Seville. It's just so nice to have this, and it almost makes you tempted to be like, let him take charge of the final. Let him have another. I don't. You know me. You know I don't like when sentimentality comes into decisions, but there's just that. It's there, isn't it? It's there.
They love him. Celtic supporters love him. He is.
Because he's a lovable character.
One, he's a lovable character, but he's a managerial legend, right? And to hear his name being chanted and reverberating around the stadium was a wonderful moment for him. But as I've said to you, and I said before, he's at it. He is like, and I think for a minute that he would love to lead this team out at Hampden, Ryan, if the interim period stretches on. You know, he said himself that, you know, they've got Michelin, they've got Kilmarnock, and then there's the break for the international 2 weeks. So he probably, in his head, he's resigned to the fact that he might not be here. But he's got to tune out these players, Ryan. The very same players that the previous manager was struggling to get a tune out of. And that today was a Celtic team that was going to win that football match. That manager, that management team, that trio, Sean Maloney and Mark Fleury, I don't want to underestimate anything that they brought to the table as well, but that's a Celtic team of old. That's a Martin O'Neill Celtic team going out there and giving you everything and playing with a bit of nous and a bit of physicality, and that was going to, and a bit of brawn, that was going to win the game today. And Martin O'Neill made sure that Celtic team, who were so pedestrian under Brendan Rodgers, brought all of that to the table today. That's what, it didn't startle me, but I just thought, this is in them, because this manager clearly sees that.
I think it's settling in me now, because I feel like I'm smiling more and more thinking about it. See, when you're at the game and you're at the game and are working, when you're locked in, I told you, I'm in the matrix just now. I'm making things happen, trying to make things happen for the website. Now taking a step back and reflecting on the game with yourself, that was a good one today. I'm delighted. I think we all are delighted, and I hope that people in the comments, you know, who are watching this show later on, are delighted as well, and I hope they're celebrating it, because it's been a while since Celtic beat Rangers. I know that it was the League Cup final, but they actually beat them rather than going to penalties and it becoming a lottery. There's just a better feeling now. It's exactly what the doctor ordered: Wednesday and Sunday, isn't it?
These games are never enjoyable. That's as close to enjoyable as it got today.
And the second half of the extra time was incredibly enjoyable, Tony.
Yeah, and you smile, it smiles back in your face. It kind of has sunk in with you now, because you are plugged into the matrix and you're working, and it's all work, busy, all that kind of stuff. But when you can analyse it and take a step back, that's a manager that set out your football team to play a certain way today. And he's brought that smile back, he's brought laughter, he's brought humour, but he's brought seriousness back. Seriousness, business of winning football matches, go and win against your rivals. That's the 17th win of Martin O'Neill's career over Rangers. 17, that's not bad. You know.
I mean, the guy that he's replacing had a pretty good record up until fairly recently in that competition, or in that fixture. Martin O'Neill, I couldn't think of a better person to even just steer the ship for these couple of games. And you're going into a game against Midfield on Thursday and a game against Kilmarnock the following Sunday, and you're feeling optimistic about Celtic at the moment. Yes, we'll take one game at a time, and it's important that we do that. And Midfield are the best side Celtic are going to face in this schedule of games. There's a reason why they're top of the Europa League at the moment. But there's optimism now, Tony, and it was so bereft of optimism, but there is all of a sudden. Once again, it's amazing how quickly 7 days can go.
Do you think for a minute that this manager hasn't challenged those players while she's in charge to win every football match? 100%. I want to leave this interim period having won every football match. Easier said than done. And you get Rangers in your second game, and he joked himself, if I'd have clocked the fixture list, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
He's at it. He's 73 and he's got the wisdom of Solomon, right? And he is imparting that to the players. And these players are feeding off it and they're absorbing everything like a sponge. This is a man that played under one of the best managers British football's ever seen. And he's learned so much, and he became his own personality in his own right. That humour's pure and utter deflection. He is in that dressing room, Ryan, saying, right, this is how it is, this is what we do, this is how we're going to win this football match. You trusted Martin O'Neill today, didn't you? You felt safe. I said it was no guarantee that you're going to win the game, but there was a high probability, and he gave you a high degree and a high percentage chance of winning that football match. And you really went about that first half with gusto. You thought, we're going to win this. That's what I thought. Then Rangers had their moments and you were thinking, we're going to blow this.
Yeah, because it wasn't about what Rangers were doing, it's about what Celtic weren't doing in the game.
Correct, right. And then they got their second wind, and I'm thinking, right, come on, let's, and again, don't underestimate that team talk at extra time.
That must have been a galvanising, and it won't have been just Martin O'Neill. It would have been his coaches, it would have been Sean Maloney. Sean Maloney would have had the analytical side. I don't doubt for a second that Mark Fotheringham wasn't a part of it. I am sure that he'd have been sending messages. That game is there for you. Go and take it now.
Yeah, that's when you say to your, your right and your left lieutenant, you say, anything to say here? It's not all about, come in here. This is what we do, right? What's your thoughts on this? What have you witnessed? What can you say to them as well that I'm not seeing? Fozzie, you do the same. Sean, right? Speak. And then they all as a collective, as a trio, because it's all right saying these things don't really matter. You just get them in and you say, right, come on. I think that was important too, because Celtic attacked that extra time, let a team that weren't going to lose. So obviously something was said to them by the three guys who were in the technical area, something inspirational. I'd like to find out what it was, to be honest.
Hopefully we do in the fullness of time. If this is to be Martin O'Neill's, if it's only to be an interim until Kilmarnock, he's got to be the first name in the guest list for the final, hasn't he? I mean, for what he's done today, there would be. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Celtic have still got one more game until they retain the Premier Sports Cup.
Won't be easy.
No, it won't be easy against a good side who got a good result yesterday, and Stephen Robinson's a really good manager.
A lot of admiration for him, yourself and myself personally, Stephen Robinson. And if anybody thinks that playing St Mirren on December the 14th a gimme, as they say, no gimmies, but that'll be as tough as it comes.
Against perhaps an even bigger side than Rangers.
Arguably tougher than today, I have to say. Listen, you talk about that, you don't want sentimentality to come into it, but it would be a really nice touch, wouldn't it, if whoever came in maybe asked Martin O'Neill to, perform some kind of, but he might not want to do that because he might not want to get in the new guy's way, and just say to him, right, it's your team now, you do it. But
I think it would be in the new guy's best interest to include him, with the way the supporters are taking Martin O'Neill on, and the way that he left the first time. You've got to remember, Helicopter Sunday, the way that he left it. I know, I'm sorry. The way that he left, obviously there was off-field problems as well. Thankfully they were all resolved in that. But the way that he left, and yes, he won the Scottish Cup in his last game against Dunfermline, I believe. Dundee United. I knew it was a D. Dundee United. It would be a good way to sign off, if it was to be the Premier Sports Cup. But at the same time, I don't want sentimentality.
I think that's why he came back. Because maybe he felt that the send off the last time, or it wasn't the perfect kind of way to go out. He's come in, he's answered an SOS from Dermot Desmond. He's steered Celtic into the League Cup final, beating your rivals and beating them pretty convincingly in the end after extra time. Granted, they were down to 10 men, but that's what you do to 10 men.
And you were talking about the fact that the Celtic fans were singing for Martin O'Neill. It just so happened that they were singing for both managers that were out on the field of play today. Tongue in cheek, of course, but that did happen.
Yeah.
You did get Danny Rowe chants from the Rangers fans. By the end of the game, it was the Celtic fans singing for both managers. It was a bit of a mixture, a bit of a mash-up between the two managers. I don't know if they were just showing respect for the two guys that were on the touchline or something, but yeah. Is there anything else that you want to discuss about today? Is there anything, any players that we've maybe missed out on? Maybe the goalkeeper. And thank you. I didn't mean to just put that directly onto your lap, but it was the first player I thought of after a difficult couple of weeks for him. You know, there's chances that he maybe should have saved. A couple of really big saves today.
And he had a massive save against Falkirk
Did you right?
the other night, so he's coming back onto a bit of form. Again, I can only assume that that's down to what the management team are telling him, because there's nothing you can tell Kasper Schmeichel about goalkeeping. But you can just reinforce the fact that you're a born winner. You've got so much to give here, you know. And going back to Martin O'Neill, when you hear his name reverberating around the stadium, you know, he'll love that. He'll absolutely love that, because he's adored by the Celtic supporters. But he's adored for a reason, because he gets a tune out of footballers, right? But he's one of the brightest, shrewdest managers this club's ever had. Sharpest, humour-wise, but tactically, he does himself down. He says he leaves it to Sean and he leaves it to Fozzie. I haven't watched the team that much. He knows enough. And he knew enough today to say to all of those players, you're going to win that football match today.
He's forgotten more than we'll ever know, to be honest.
Of course. And you just sit there when you have that privileged position that I spoke about earlier today in the podcast, and you listen. And when you listen, you learn.
Yeah.
Certain managers have that aura, that gravitas. Despite his kind of mellow Martin, you know, jokey side, I'm listening, I'm reading between the lines, and I'm saying, yeah, he had that team prepped. From the goalkeeper right through to that starting 11 to those substitutes, everybody knew what they were going to do. And Kasper Schmeichel, I think, will benefit from that as well, because Martin is the kind of guy that will put his arm around you and just say, don't listen to the outside noise. It's green and white. Don't listen to, you know, probably say don't listen to guys Liz in, podcasts or whatever. Just focus on what you're good at. You're good at keeping that ball out the net. And today there was one in the second half in particular where he could have been
yes.
and he swiped the ball away. Brilliant textbook, Schmeichel. Spread himself for the Nico Raskin chance when I thought Raskin was a certainty.
That was a great save.
Brilliant, very.
Trusty did well as well to get the ball away after that.
And it's going to be lost in the vortex of this football match, Ryan. And people say, that's his job, that's what he's there to do. But on a stage like that, when people are posing questions about your suitability to remain in situ or remain with the goalkeeping gloves, stood up big today.
He certainly did. I think that's a perfect way to end it, Tony. It's been a very good day, clearly, at Hampden, the National Stadium. Celtic are through to the Premier Sports Cup final. They'll play St Mirren next month, and they'll be looking to retain the trophy that they won against Rangers about 11 months or so ago. But they beat their rivals today 3-1 thanks to goals from Johnny Kenny, captain Callum McGregor, and a first ever senior goal for Callum Osmond, and my goodness, did he enjoy it. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to discuss more about today's events, about what the major players had to say after the game, maybe some news as well concerning, there's always news. Celtic still need to go and find a manager at the end of the day. Once again, a massive thank you to everybody for joining in, especially as this is a pre-recorded show. So if you can get your comments in, tell us what you thought about the game and subscribe to us, because you'll get notified when videos like these come out. And if you like the video, it means that more Celtic fans can then be attracted to the video. And the more Celtic fans watching these videos, the better. And thankfully, due to results like today, there will be more Celtic fans watching than maybe fans of another persuasion, which is always quite good. And that's what you want. At the end of the day, we want Celtic fans to be watching it first and foremost. Once again, a massive thank you to It's Simply Furniture for sponsoring this video and all the videos that we do. All of their links will be in the description below this video. And if you mention the Celtic Way and their showroom in Hillington, you'll get a special discount on us and on them as well. So check that out, guys. Until tomorrow, thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday evening. And yeah, Celtic are through to the Premier Sports Cup final. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Roll on December the 14th.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys.